What's up, y'all? Back at it today with some more edge retention testing, and this time we are going to put SPY27 up against S35VN. So the reason I chose S35VN to compare to SPY27 is that they were very similar to me when it came to how they kind of sharpen and strop back. They're both very easy to sharpen to me, and while they don't have like the very best edge retention, it's perfectly fine edge retention, kind of middle of the road. It does strop back very, very easily. So I figured these would be a good comparison. So SPY27 Steel, I think Spyderco, they kind of took the recipe for VG10 and modified it a bit, and it brought the properties closer to like the S30V and S35VN. I'm sure somebody who is better educated to that can chime in the comments, but that's just generally what I've read about the composition and performance of the steel. So SPY27 is a proprietary steel developed by Spyderco, and kind of one of the other reasons I wanted to do S35VN is so the native 5 was originally released back in 2011 with S35VN steel, and now today you can get it in many steels, but it's just one of the many knives that they offer in SPY27 as well. So I figured it would be a fitting comparison for that too. So let's go ahead and just do some initial checks for sharpness beforehand. So we're gonna make sure these are nice and sharp. We're gonna go do our 150 cuts through rope and cardboard, 150 cuts through cardboard, 50 cuts through rope, and see how much with that little bit of use those edges degrade. So that's kind of the purpose of these tests. You know, I don't necessarily always just take them as far as they can go, but for like general light EDC tasks, just how much wear down you're going to get on those edges. Most people aren't just going to sit and cut through rope as long as they can, but I get it is important to know how long those edges can last. But I just want to kind of see how they just wear down with a little bit of light use. So SPY27, very nice and sharp there. S35VN feels just the same. Feels really nice, just flying through that paper. All right. These can both shave. See there, we'll shave very easily. All right, so let's go ahead and take some tests on the best tester so we can get an initial average. We'll take 3 each and take the average on those. So let's go ahead and start with the SPY27. All right, let's go ahead and give the S35VN a go. All right, so our initial sharpness on the SPY27 after a few tests averaged to be 164 grams to cut that line. And the S35VN, we had an average of 144 grams to cut that line. Now, these have both been sharpened to 20 degrees per side, and they were both sharpened to 1000 grit and stropped on the same strop. So these have a pretty equivalent, comparable starting point. So let's go ahead and cut some stuff and come back and test again. All right, both of these knives performed exceptionally well for the cutting. I went ahead and cleaned them up a little bit in case there was any residual tape on the apex. It wouldn't affect our best testing. Just clean it up with some alcohol. So let's go ahead and see how they are going to cut through paper. So the SPY27 is still cutting very well. It's definitely a little more rough than it was. It's not as smooth of a cut, but it is still very well, actually. We'll take a look at the S35VN and it feels a little more rough, but all in all the same. It's still cutting the paper after all that testing, which I feel like even some more premium steels just from different brands don't perform this well with that test. So, but I can say from these tests, what I've seen is that the ease of use in the cutting, how the steels perform, how they hold up, and then how actually easy it is to continue to make the cuts. Like they're not just the edge retention, but the performance altogether. I mean, Spyderco is noticeably better. I'll just say that. That's not what this video is about, but it's just, especially when I was comparing Spyderco to Spyderco here, it is just very apparent that these are very purposefully built knives to perform well, and they certainly do. So let's see if they shave. No shaving on the, maybe a couple on the SPY27. And nothing on the S35VN. All right, so let's go ahead and hit them on the best tester, and we can see the way that those edges broke down. We'll go ahead and start with the SPY27. All right, let's go ahead and check the S35VN. All right, so before the cardboard and rope, we had an average of 164 grams, and after all of that cutting, it only went up on average by 24 grams, up to 188 on average. That is a very good performance for this. Now, this has been used and sharpened, so there's definitely no leftover burnt edge there. Really impressed at the way that this SPY27 performed, especially given some of the other steels from other brands that we've been doing this test with. And then the S35VN started at 144 grams. That went up on average by 71. So we had an after average of 215. So that went up by 71 grams. So the SPY27 performed pretty significantly better than the S35 with just these light use tests. So the S35VN started sharper, but they both ended up in the same range. I think if I continued to use these, it would kind of just even out. And I think in practical application, they are still the same sharpness and have the same cutting ability. I think just for the best tester, it kind of highlights maybe just that little bit of difference in just straight push cutting. But I think for all intents and purposes, I'll say that this one is actually really close. Because if it wasn't for the best tester, I wouldn't really be able to discernibly tell which one is sharper in this case. And I just felt like that was necessary enough to address. Now, one of the other things I wanted to demonstrate with these steels is their ability to strop back really easily. So I'm just going to hit both of these on the strop and see. I bet we can bring both of these back to shaving sharp pretty easily with just a strop. So we saw after we did our cutting that these would not shave at all. And I bet with just a little bit on the strop, we can bring it right back to life. Oh yeah, very easy. Right back to where we had it. All right, and let's go and do the same with the S35VN. So again, just my thinking behind the way I do these tests is just to kind of replicate like maybe a day or two of some, probably is what some like more than average use, maybe like it's a week or two of use that the average knife person who's not like heavy using their knives for work would use. So just to see how these different steels and different knives and geometries and stuff like that hold up to just that little bit of use, and just how they compare. And of course, after any of that use, regardless of the knife or the steel, you should still just give it a strop, and it'll keep the life of the blade really nice. So we've got shaving sharp back on the S35VN very easily again as well. So thank you for watching.